Hey, this is CSB853 coming at you, full throttle. And I think I said this in a previous video, so as promised, this is my video that starts about fandom. Basically, we need to talk. So, I'm going to break this up into a few parts because there's four main fan groups that I wanted to talk about. Number one, Star Trek. Number two, Star Wars. Number three, comic books. And number four, I can't remember right now. I got it written down. Whatever. But there's going to be 4 parts. So, there's our comic books. And I think the last one is actually fans as a whole. Fans versus creators. So, yeah. Like I said, I have it written down. Don't worry. It'll be fine when it's done. Anyway. So, I wanted to talk to fans about Star Trek. Now, I'm noticing a pattern. A lot of people that seem to have a problem with one thing seems to have a problem with another thing and another thing. Now, I'm going to name a couple channels, but this is not me coming at you or throwing shade. Actually, a lot of you I actually follow. And I do like a lot what you say, but sometimes I think you go a little overboard. And like I said, no disrespect. I actually like you. So please don't take it as I'm trying to come at you. I'm just using these as examples. Actually, for some of you, I think you're pretty awesome people. I think you're pretty wonderful. I think some of you look great. Some of you are just cool. And, other things. And the reason why I preface that is because if I reference you, it may sound a little negative. So anyway. So I noticed there is this pattern. And that pattern goes, usually the people that don't like the Star Trek, don't like Star Wars, don't like Doctor Who, don't like the comic books, it goes into a full rotation. So, this one's going to be about Star Trek. Alright. I get it. You guys, everybody's fan of what was there before. People have their different ones. I haven't reviewed any Star Trek. I made a review to J.J. Abrams movies because I think I just got the third one finally. Actually, maybe one day I'll just review all of them. There's a lot of Star Trek movies. A lot of Star Trek in that sense. But what I noticed is that from Star Trek Discovery on, and these new wave of fans, they're very upset about what they're being delivered. And that doesn't mean I don't agree with everything. I haven't watched all this stuff up to the most recent date. I have a lot of things on my plate. But I eventually will, as usual, I eventually get to it. But I do know quite a bit about them. I watched a little bit. And I actually, just because I've always watched something doesn't mean I don't know anything. Also, I know people who do and we talk about it. So, I'm going to talk about it from two sides. Okay, so first I'm going to start with the fans. Nah, I'm going to start with the creators. Okay, so here's the thing. The creators are trying to produce something that they're not just trying to get you, they're trying to get that next audience. And the other problem is that right now we have a lot of political climates, and I don't know why so many creative things are so on the nose about all the political stuff. It's actually a little stupid because it kind of puts you into a box where you could do a lot more if you were being more creative about it. And it's also a lazy way to go about it. When it comes to Star Trek, so with Star Trek Discovery, I remember as soon as people saw a commercial, as soon as it came out, because of I think her name is Sequoia Green, lovely actress, seems very sweet, beautiful, wonderful. I loved her in Walking Dead. It seems as though the first thing I heard, because she was a black girl, was the first mate, which is also, I think this, if I remember correctly, this is the first series that's actually about a first mate and not about a captain. Immediately I heard, SJW! Even some of my friends, SJW, 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 blah, 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 blah. Didn't watch any of it yet. Now, I have my friend who actually watches it, and he watched it, and I asked him about it. And he said, "Well, no. The thing is that just because they have the Asian one being a female commander or anything like that, that's not really the focus on the series. The focus is actually about what's going on." Now, from a creative standpoint, do I think they did do some diversity, little trickery? Yeah, because that's the climate. Even though I don't think they should be, but yeah, they went for it. You tell a little bit. They're trying to appeal, but I think their focus on these new shows, because more Star Trek is coming, cartoons and stuff. They already said it. More is coming. I think they're trying to focus a lot on the fan, like getting more new fans in and things like that. And they're taking old material, but they're really trying to zero in on the newer stuff and make some new stuff that gets the blood flow going and gets the whole train moving. And I think that they go for all of that. And when they do, it's like basically they're trying to appeal to this audience that they normally don't get to touch and get that wallet from them and do things like that. Now, with that comes a problem. So before I get to that major problem, now we're going to talk about the fan side. On the fan side of Star Trek, everything that Star Trek does, they freaking hate. Do I think they go a little overboard? Yes. Now, with that being said, I've seen some of it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I never watched any of the series. Do I think there's certain dialogue and certain things? And I look, I'm aspiring one of these days. If I write something and I get it out there and you guys think it's garbage, hey, it is what it is. I did my best. But when I wrote it, I put my effort into it. And even if it's bad, I put my effort into it. And yes, a lot of writers do that, but there's a lot of writers that don't. They're just trying to shell it out. Because if they can shell it out and make that money, they do it. But if I do come out with something, I'm like, hey, I'm coming out with this. Even if it sucks, and I understand if it sucks, and you guys go, yeah, know that I put my best foot forward, and people fail sometimes. It happens to writers, it happens to everyone. So with that being under consideration, because I'm trying not to do spoilers for Star Trek. But basically, the whole captain situation actually is because it leads to another captain. Now, there's a girl that I met more recently. I've gotten to know a little bit. She's getting into Star Trek late, and she's really loving it because when she was a kid, she's like, my mom likes it, that. But she's really loving it, and she didn't understand where some of the timeline stuff with it. So I told her about the Discovery and how this is the timeline with each one from Deep Space Nine to Voyager and all of that, so she could get it into order. And she actually thinks Discovery is pretty good. Now, I know there's a bunch of Star Trek fans. I can't believe it. You're not a real fan. No, yes, she is. That's the fan they're appealing to. She's young, new, fresh eyes, not jaded, and wants to see it. Now, with the fans, like I said, I know there was a scene, and I see it where they were like, "It's effing cool." Yeah, it's effing cool, and it was like, "Why are you guys talking like that?" And and I agree with some of the fans. Mecca Random actually brought it, like she uses a clip, and I'm like, yeah, I see that scene. That was weird. Now people do the whole cringy. I hate those little buzzwords. It's dumb, cringy. No, just cringe. To me, it's ridiculous. Cringy, whatever. It's dumb. Everything's cringy now. Everything's this. Everything's toxic. Everything like stop with the buzzwords. Move on. But yeah, when someone talks about it, I'm like, yeah, that's a great thing. Because even how he looks, the guy like looks at her, it's like, and then she's like, and I'm like, what just happened there? That was weird dialogue. That was a weird interaction. I see in the Spock thing, I thought that was funny, and I see it just because he's like, I like he was responding a little robotic. But I understand that's the actor and stuff like that. And Spock's supposed to not be emotional, which would make you robotic. But some people were really ragging on the dude. I thought he did all right. I actually understood where his head was at. Not saying he did a great job ever, but I was like, I can see where it comes. But a lot of fans don't like it. They're like, that's not Spock, that's not this, that's not that. Why? And I'm like, well, they got to do it. They can't get, since I can't remember his name, because I love them as Heroes and Siler. They can't get Siler to do it because that dude's, he works on some stuff. He's a pretty busy guy. He's also awesome. And I just think Siler is a cool name. But yeah. But I catch the fans, they talk about the dialogue, they talk about the look of the ships, even. They talk about how things aren't canon, which, by the way, I'm going to correct a lot of you now because I see it often. Yes, Discovery is canon. They mentioned Discovery in Next Generation. If you are considering yourself a real fan, you should know that, because that's another problem I'm having. A lot of people are like, well, I'm a real fan. Yet I'm not as hardcore of a fan in something as they are, but yet I'm like, wait, that came from that. Why don't you know that? You're like, that's your fandom. That's your thing. And when it comes to stuff like Star Trek, no, Star Trek is very in depth. It's a boom, 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 like that. It's very there. So there's a lot you should know. I am a fan of Star Trek myself, but I'm not so hardcore. For some reason, I know a lot of their weapons systems. It's weird. But there's people who know their ships inside and out and knows which thing for this thing versus what number to go to what thing, like that. Then you should know that Discovery was mentioned in Next Generation. Discovery is there. It's a hidden ship. It's secretive. It's stuff and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I'm not trying to go into any spoilers, but there's things being redacted, basically. So when you see them do that and you're like, why are they doing that? Same with Enterprise. When you're like, why are they doing it? They reference that their stuff's redacted. But yeah. So the fans don't seem to like the writing. They don't like the dialogue. They don't like the direction. Same thing with Picard. They don't like the way it goes and things like this. Now, here's my personal opinion about the series just lightly. Star Trek Discovery, from what I've seen, isn't as bad as it makes it. I think the second season really picked up for where they were at. Like I said, I haven't watched everything, but I'm just going for what I noticed. Especially with the new person that takes over, it actually makes sense because I'm like, well, this is the story of that person leading here. So you should be able to connect the dots. You may not like how that journey got there, which is fine, but that's what it is. Now, I did a little bit about the creators, and I think the creators' directions, I think some of them put a heart into it, but I think a lot of it's more of them trying to basically just throw it out there too. And for that, some of the dialogue gets a little weird. It's a little clunky where most people are used to Star Trek being very smooth, but I think the actors had a big play in that too. Picard is on a thing. So when it comes to Discovery, I think overall it found its footing. And Discovery really is trying to tell a different type of story, discovering things, doing stuff, Star Trek, but it's trying to tell another story for these weird kind of missions and stuff. Now, when it comes to Picard, I haven't really watched Picard, but I accidentally came across a lot of information on it and stuff. So, but I know a lot. Also, my friend told me, and I do know. Funny enough, I actually started watching the first episode and figured out like several plots that happens like throughout the series very quickly for where they're at. And my friend can confirm, he's like, "Dad, yeah, you got on it." So yeah, some of it was a little obvious to me, not in a bad way. But here's my thing right there off of Picard. I did, like I said, I didn't watch everything or watch the stuff. I don't have enough of to consumed it to even give my final opinion on it. But just as a general from the door, I do not like the idea of a post-apocalyptic future in Star Trek. That is not Star Trek. I almost just called it the wrong thing. That's Star Wars. Star Trek is about human utopia where humans have made it to the point that we've gone beyond all the stuff. Gene Roddenberry was very stickler about that because he was like, I want to show humanity at its best. Now, they said there, it was explained to me there's reasons why it happened, but that's not the point. Just because it got there doesn't mean that it's right. Gene Roddenberry, the creator, was like, no, this is supposed to be about humanity at its best, spreading the love, the peacefulness, the joy, all that stuff throughout the universe. It's not this whole post-apocalyptic blah 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 blah. And you come to find out, even from the writer, a lot of it's Patrick Stewart. And don't get me wrong, Patrick Stewart's awesome. I still think he was amazing as Xavier. He was actually always my pick as Xavier. When they got what's name to play a younger one, I just thought it was great because I knew he could kill it because that guy's an awesome actor. But anyways, back to Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart is pretty cool, pretty awesome. Got a lot of love for this guy. So please don't think I know. At the same time, this is a vanity project where he wants to be the messiah of everything and he wants to basically blow his own horn. And that to me is not Star Trek. You could have made up a new series for all that. Now, some of the complaints I've seen a little bit from that Star Wars girl who, Anna, I have nothing but love for her. I think she's a great artist. I think she's beautiful. I feel terrible about what happened with her family situation. She's very informative and very enjoyable to hear. Like, I like the way she talks. It's very engaging. I can just listen to her. I'm like, she just draws you in, and this beautiful smile, beautiful makeup, just awesome. Becca Random is fun. She makes you laugh. She kind of does the jiggle thing and all that, and it's attractive. She talks about it. So these are two that I follow that actually talk about it. Mr. H, he talks about it. Like I said, don't really have hatred for any of these people or anything. Now, what I started catching from the different ones and some of these ones that I named, was that when it comes to Star Trek, Mr. H really does talk about, he's like, yeah, this sounds like a vanity project, and he's on point with it. But they talk about the dialogue. They talk about how they don't care about the new characters. They talk about how they don't care about the like the setups. They don't do this. But then they had that episode that had Riker and Troy on it, and they're like, well, this is what we wanted, and this is better than the bad stuff that we normally get. And I'm like, well, that sounds like nostalgia. You also still have to give the new characters a little bit. And if you think about it, you're a fan to this certain point you cut off. And some people don't even like J.J. Abrams. You cut it off here, which means that you're somewhere along the lines. It sounds like you're not giving the new stuff an opportunity to do it, especially J.J. Abrams, because they're actually very interesting and pretty good. Some of them don't like it, but I personally think they're pretty good. How they led and kind of filled in some gaps with the Kelvin timeline. So, when you compare the two fandoms on here, or the fandom and the creator, here's where I think the problem is happening. Now, I think Picard had a big drop, but there are some other issues, and I even seen people who are hard about it, like, my boy likes Picard. Like I said, I know people that do, but I can understand where the problems are coming from, because Picard doesn't feel like, just from the trailer and the things I've seen of it, doesn't feel like a normal Star Trek thing. It actually feels a little weird. Like I said, kind of feels a little like Star Wars. But I think the problem comes into here. I think the fans are kind of knowing what they want, and they're not 100% wrong. They do want some of this stuff, and that's what I'm saying. They know that this is Star Trek. They know they have a certain love for this thing. They know they have a certain, like, area. And I think the creators are like, well, we know this, but retreading those same steps are not going to help us. We want to go this way, that way, and we want to kind of throw some new crazy stories. What's happening is that the disconnect is that the fans want that old school feel, and I think that percentage that they're missing, you have to understand you're from a different generation on it, so you're not going to feel it the same way, versus the creators, who they also need to connect to the fans better. There is a fan base that buys the merchandise, that gets the stuff. Even I think I have a Star Trek magazine. I'm getting one. I think I ordered one. But like, even I have a love for Star Trek. And my favorite Star Trek captain and stuff is actually very different. Maybe one day I'll tell you. But I don't want to do it in this video. But having it here and having it there, you have to find the connection. And I don't think the fans are 100% wrong about this. There's definitely some weirdness to it, but there's also some stuff. But I think the creators are sometimes focus a little bit more on the diversity and the messages and stuff, instead of getting to the point and telling that story. So when it comes to the two, here's the thing I have to say to the fans of Star Trek. If you don't like it, which the guy who writes Picard said this, if you don't like what they're doing, and it's understandable, it is your right not to like it. You have, like, I think he said, like 7 seasons of Generation. You have this. You have the original Star Trek, the Star Trek cartoon, all the original Star Trek movies, which I think there's like 7 or 8 of them. I can't remember off the top of my head. Next Generation, all the Next Generation movies, which is one of my favorite Star Trek movies. A lot of you would not like, but I don't care. It's one that really resonated with me. Maybe I'll tell you about that later too. Not doing it in this video. But you have a bunch of those movies. Then you have Deep Space Nine. You have Voyager. You have Enterprise. I know. But you have Enterprise. So you have multiple series, multiple movies, multiple things you could do. You can technically say, well, Star Trek, right there. If you're not liking the new stuff and you're consistently talking about it and watching it, I've seen some YouTubers drop off. Here's how I do things. If you can't capture me between 4 and 5 episodes, I'm dropping off your show. Now, I've only had one show where I had to give it a little bit more. But yeah, you got to do that. you can't, if you keep talking about, I guess maybe you're doing it for clicks, maybe you're doing it, that's fine, I get it. I'm just saying, for me, I'm like, if you keep over and over and over, so Discovery's bad, Picard's bad, Discovery's bad, Picard's bad. Now, reviewing episode by episode, I understand that, because that's a way to really do your channel, and I'm not a big channel. I may turn into something, I may turn into nothing. So I do get that, but I notice you're not just talking about those episodes. You will bring it up in another video and just start bashing it. And then you bash it again. And you just, and by the way, you also have Orville, because a lot of people, I haven't gotten a chance to watch Orville, and a lot of people said that's Star Trek to them. So I just added, with all these Star Trek things, which is a lot, I just added another Star Trek thing. And Galaxy Quest, because some people said that's the greatest Star Trek film ever made. So you have quite a bit that you can still rely on. Yes, I understand you want the new stuff, but if you're not liking it and it's constantly bad, yes, if you want to do the check over, do the check over, do your videos on it. But just having a whole discussion over and over and over again, it kind of becomes redundant, because it's like, you already established it's garbage to you. So why are you still talking about it heavily in multiple videos over and over again? And when it comes to the writers, you got to figure out a way to also get the fans in there, and not just do nostalgia. Hey, look, we got this person from the series. Hey, look, we got Sulu. I'm just making this up, but hey, look, we got Sulu. Love us now. We got William Shatner. Please love us. Like, no, write them in, give them story, give them depth, give them that stuff. And it's not crazy. There's a lot of Star Trek material that you could work with. So for the creators, I feel as though you need to learn how to connect to your old fans. Kind of how Marvel does that balance. You can't ignore your old fans to get the new fans, or you're going to do the Wii problem. People wonder what the Wii problem is. Nintendo Wii got the casual fan. Next thing you know, they got commercials. It's not a system. It's an art book. It's a this. It's not a game. Game? Oh, video game? No, I got this. What happened with the Wii U? With the sales and stuff, because the casual game people were like this. The gamers are the ones who keep you alive. They're the ones who buy your games. It took you forever to come out with games for the gamer. Those are the people that are there for you. When it comes to Star Trek, the fans are there for you. They're the ones that go to the conventions. They're the ones that buy the shirts. They're the ones that get the paraphernalia, the merchandise, the whole 9 yards. You need to cater to those fans. But you don't need to give into every demand, but you need to cater more, because I do see it where I'm like, you're not really catering. Your story does feel like you're really kind of grabbing this other thing too much, grabbing on the, agenda stuff a little too much, and not so much on the story, and you need to tell the story. Fans, if you don't like what's happening, outside of if you're a YouTuber and you're reviewing it or something like that, which is lovely, because a lot of people can learn your opinion and care. So I'm not saying don't do that. But please don't then jump on it and then make it. And not saying these people all do that either. I've only seen it once. Right? I'm just using them as examples for references. The people I named. Like, don't just sit there and go, it's so bad, and then a new episode, it's so bad, and then there's not even a new episode, but then you're still like, it's so bad, and then you're like, it's so bad, and it's like, oh, okay, we get it. Like, but I mean, if it's getting you clicks and views, I get it, I understand. I just personally feel focusing on it over again versus doing it episode by episode and then getting it out in there is just a little much. But I feel like creators, and this is and actually, to be honest with you, the fans are where I'm holding them at right now, and when it comes to Star Trek, is about 85%. Not their fault. Only that 15% where I think they take it a little far. Creators, I'm holding you more responsible, because, like Picard, I get it, people like it, but the original creator and the way Star Trek is, it's completely going that way when Star Trek is usually going this way and this way and this way. And I don't think that's right. Even if I watch the series and I like the series, it's still not going to be there for me, because it should not be a post-apocalyptic future with one guy who's kind of the savior in a group and it's all focused on him. Which, yes, some people might go, it's not. Yeah, I've heard from Patrick Stewart and stuff. Yes, it is. Even though they have the characters and everything, this is built around them. You know how when you watch a Batman movie, it's one thing? If you ever watch Dark Knight, the second Batman movie, that's a Joker movie. Think about how many times and how much everyone talks about the Joker, how focused they're on the Joker, and how many times you saw Batman and what did Batman do. Batman was very reactionary. It was, even though there was characters and Commissioner Gordon and everything, that movie was centered around Joker. The Picard show is centered around Patrick Stewart, and everyone else is kind of a prop in his world. So, just from what I've seen. But like I said, that doesn't mean it's terrible or a lot of people don't like it. I haven't watched enough of it to make a judgment. But I'm not a big fan of the premise itself. So, that's all I really need to say about that. I definitely hold the creators more responsible, that they need to find ways to kind of connect more to the fans and maybe try to figure out a better balance. But as you fans, if you really can't stand it outside of a thing, stop watching it. And now this is not about the creators and stuff. I'm talking about the regular fans now. I just use the creators because that's a lot of people. That's a window into it. So you have a thing what I mean in reference. If you are a fan and you do not like this new Star Trek stuff, stop watching it. You don't have to watch it. I get it. Tradition. There's so many other things you can watch. There's just so many other things. There's even stuff like Star Trek. Like I said, Orville is even like Star Trek. And I think they're coming out with another space show. You got Killjoys, which I think that ended, but still Killjoys is awesome. You got The Expanse. They come like there's a lot of other space stuff that you don't have to stay to this one thing. And if they're not giving you what you like and you've been giving it a chance, speak with your wallet. Don't get it. Be like, all right, I'm not going to consume this. And eventually, if enough people, and if it's enough, because fans, you also have to remember something else too. You're not a humongous audience, but when it's like that paid thing and maybe a little bit more focused, if enough of you start watching it, they'll change. So thank you for following me on my fan rant. Number 1, Star Trek. Sorry, I went a little long. CSB853, signing out. Stay safe out here.